Welcome to Friday's ESPN FC Live. Mark Donaldson, Luis Miguel Echegaray, Shaka Hislop. Happy Friday. I don't really like the phrase, but has it been a happy Friday for you so far, Shaka?
I guess. I get to spend it with you guys.
Oh, you lucky
How's that for a
thing.
Friday?
You lucky thing. LME, how's your Friday?
It's good. I'm married to a public school teacher, MD, so a Friday is a great day.
I bet it is. Today, we're going to be looking at a blockbuster of a fixture in La Liga coming up on Sunday. It's the Madrid Derby. Also, there's a good one at Old Trafford also on Sunday. Manchester United taking on Spurs. And how about this one from the Bundesliga all to itself on Saturday? Bayern Munich against Bayer Leverkusen. Myself, LME and Shaq will look ahead to those three games. We're going to start in Spain, Shaq. Yesterday I was commentating on Atleti, and they do what they always do. They go away from home, they don't play well, they leave it late, and then they find a way to get all 3 points. That's what they did at Balaidos, beating Celta, who suffered defeat at home for the first time since February. It was Julian Alvarez here with the goal and with the winner. So that sets them up nicely for the derby on Sunday. The problem is they played Thursday, Real Madrid played Tuesday. Could that be an issue as far as freshness is concerned for Sunday?
Yes, it could. Listen, I normally one day, one way or the other, I'm not that sympathetic with clubs when they make those complaints, because that's kind of part and parcel of the game. But certainly 2 days. The second of which being a Thursday, as you mentioned. So, we're not talking Monday, Wednesday here. There's a whole lot less rest between now and the game on Sunday. Atleti, I think, have reason to complain. But that being said, I'm sure the tables will turn for Real Madrid at some point during the course of this season, where they feel that they have had a more difficult week, whether it's deeper in the Champions League or something of these sorts, and they may want to complain. And similarly, Atleti will probably go into a game at some point during the course of this season where they haven't had a midweek fixture, or they've had a little bit more rest than the opponent. But this is a derby. This is about more than just the 3 points between these two clubs. So I guess it kind of resonates a little bit more strongly this time around.
Off topic, I'm fascinated by everything that's behind you. It's very busy, but it's very intriguing. If you could only save one thing behind you, what would you save?
No, I'm trying to remember what's behind me.
There's a lot of stuff.
I'll save my. I've got my Freedom of the City plaque down to my right, which is not in the picture now, but I guess that will. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That'll have to be what I save.
Does that mean you can herd sheep and goats through Newcastle? No one can say anything.
On public lands, that's absolutely correct. So if anybody has any sheep or goats to donate to my herding, I'm open.
A totally needless tangent and diversion from me. I apologize. LME, back to the matter in hand. Nothing really to discuss about your background, which is perfectly normal. So I want to talk about Atleti perhaps being Real Madrid's bogey team, because they were the last team to beat Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey back in January, and they were the last team to beat Real Madrid in La Liga last September. Do they have Real Madrid's number?
Well, recent history helps them, MD, right? As you mentioned, they also drew at the Bernabeu as well. So recent history suggests that Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone make up for their best when they play against their bitter rivals Real Madrid. So there's that component. What worries me about Atletico de Madrid is the usual worry that I have under Diego Simeone, which defensively, they look good. They've only conceded 3 goals in the league so far. They've only scored 11, which is not great. And this summer was meant to be the transition, right? A lot of players left and a lot of players came in, so there was a lot to deal with for Diego Simeone. You mentioned Julian Alvarez, who got the winner in that game you called against Celta Vigo, but he really hasn't been that impressive. He's struggling right now. I think it says a lot for when you go from a Pep Guardiola system to a Diego Simeone system. That's one thing to note as well. Conor Gallagher has been a fan favorite so far. He's kind of like that pit bull, hard-working mentality player for Simeone. But aside from that, I don't see them right now impressing me. But I think that the advantage is that they save their best for Real Madrid. But there's a lot of question marks for Atleti right now. They're not really showing me right now that they're a team that they can creatively go forward. The reason why they won the league a few years ago was because when they don't have that creativity going forward, at least they had Luis Suarez, who would just poach at every given opportunity, right? They don't have that right now. Sorloth, who came from Villarreal, scored like over 30 goals in the last 2 seasons. He is also not clicking right now. They're relying a lot on Antoine Griezmann. So there's a lot to do for a Real Madrid team, by the way, that really needs to get it going right now, because Barcelona are going full pelt in every single game. So it's a big game for both, obviously, but I'm a bit worried about the creativity of Atleti.
Yeah, we'll get to Real Madrid in a second, but I want to talk about the Colchoneros, the mattress makers, to save you looking it up if you didn't know. Good story about that, by the way. Conor Gallagher's been a good sign. I want to discuss their signings, and we've spoken about Julian Alvarez. For me, their best signing so far has been Robin Lenormand, getting him from Real Sociedad for 35 million. But Shaq, yesterday, Conor Gallagher will be a really good signing for them. My concern is who he plays alongside, because Koke's been brilliant, replaced Adelardo as the club's all-time record appearance holder. However, he's not getting any younger. What do you think they'll do against Real Madrid here? Because you've got Griezmann, because you've got Surlot, you also have Julian Alvarez. So do you sacrifice one of those for an extra midfielder and maybe play someone else alongside Conor Gallagher instead of Koke? What would you do?
Let me say it. In analyzing Atletico Madrid, you ultimately end up with the exact same conclusion. This is a Diego Simeone side, yes. And to that point, we could look at the signings this summer, and yes, Sorloth hasn't been great, but then you kind of look through all this team. Julian Alvarez, while he continues to pop up with goals when and as needed. Antoine Griezmann hasn't lost any of his class or his quality. Gallagher has been an outstanding signing. Oblak looks back to his best. Yet Atletico Madrid was second best against Celta de Vigo. They should not have won that game, and that's my concern. That's just kind of my overarching impression every time we try to analyze Atletico Madrid. For all the quality and for all the moments of brilliance that we know each of those players is capable of, this team just cannot get past this negative, fairly pragmatic style, pop up with a goal in the last 5 minutes and snatch all 3 points. And so it almost kind of, the team, while there will be selection headaches, of course, you know what you're going to get, regardless of who's out there.
Okay, Real Madrid, no Mbappe, LME, so they've got options. They can go with a front three of Vinny, they could play Endrick, and they could play Rodrigo as a striker, or they could go with Bellingham in behind Vinny and Rodrigo and put an extra midfielder in there. What do you think they'll do to replace Mbappe?
I think they should go with the latter. I think they should put Vinny and Rodrigo up front and then have that protection with Jude Bellingham, who just came back, right behind them. Perhaps you have, Valverde and Luka Modric, Tchouaméni. We'll see what happens. There's a hope that Camavinga is also going to be returning as well. So I think just as the question was as important to make sure that Atleti de Madrid's midfield is protected, I think Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti is probably thinking the same thing, especially because he knows exactly what happened last season, and as we talked at the very beginning of the show, what happened in the last 3 games between these two teams. So I think that you go with those two. Also, let's not forget that the Champions League returns in the week as well. I don't think you're going to start Endrick. I don't think Ancelotti is going to start Endrick, from the first minute, even though Ancelotti loves him. He calls him such a hardworking and with los grandes cojones que tiene Endrick as well at that age as well. It's really good to see, but I don't see that happening. I think it's more about protecting that midfield. And because you have Jude Bellingham, right, who is so diverse and versatile in his playmaking, it makes to me more sense that you have those two up top, Rodrigo on one side and Vinicius Jr. up top. No Mbappé. It is a shame, because obviously this would have been a great time for them to play. But I think that I'm going to go with that too, Vinny and Rodrigo up front.
Shaq, I was watching the game on Tuesday on ESPN Plus, and when he got substituted, Mbappe, he wasn't hobbling off. He was the one that indicated he wanted to come off. But when he said something to Ancelotti, and then Ancelotti followed him back into the dugout, you kind of thought, I hope everything's okay there. It's a left thigh issue, so he's not going to play. He'll not play against Lille in the Champions League in midweek and against Villarreal. So, yes, of course, they'll miss him, but they don't have to shoehorn him in and find a spot for Vinny and for Rodrigo now as well. So if they do what LME's suggesting, would it be Vinny kind of coming in from the left and Rodrigo coming in from the right? Would it be one up, one off? What do you think they'll do?
I think you'll do exactly as LME suggested, and as you saw for all of last season. So while, yes, I think Real Madrid has largely been a work in progress in trying to integrate Kylian Mbappe into that forward line. And to start the season, we wondered if Rodrigo would be sacrificed. Ancelotti has tried to play all three. Bellingham has been injured, so that's kind of eased up the selection worry in that regard. But now with Mbappe going down, I'd expect to see Real Madrid did exactly as it did last season. That brought them La Liga title, that brought them Champions League glory. And to LME's point, you've got Endrick who can come on to change things up later on. You've seen him have huge impacts as a substitute coming off the bench for Real Madrid. If at all needed, well, not even if at all needed, if Ancelotti just decides to change things up, whether they're chasing the game or whether they're protecting a lead, I think Endrick has proven his worth to this setup. So it's kind of as we will for Real Madrid, which, you know, on the one hand, isn't a bad place to be, but on the other, I thought that they were certainly trending in the right direction after some early season stumbles and trying to figure out that front three, come front four. I thought it just started to look a whole lot better, started to click, and now, you know, you have to go back to Real Madrid of last season and pick back up where we left off in terms of integrating Kylian Mbappe in a few weeks' time.
That's a tasty main course on Sunday, but the appetizer is rather tasty as well. Manchester United against Spurs. Shaq, I want to stay with you for this one, if you wouldn't mind, because this crystal ball of yours, as you peer into the future, has been well used during your time at ESPN.
Well,
how on
well
earth...
used and well wrong.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can just say it's a crystal ball, and it's like when the gremlins get in the system, you just blame them. It's never your fault. But how on earth, where do we even start with this one? Because both sides are consistently inconsistent, and both sides are predictably unpredictable. What does the crystal ball say for this one at Old Trafford? Man United Spurs on Sunday.
Listen, where shall I start? I'll start with Manchester United.
Okay.
I think I maintain this. I'm not at all convinced that Ten Hag is the manager for Manchester United. I said that even at the end of last season when they won the FA Cup. It didn't surprise me that they kept him on, given that they won the FA Cup. But I don't think it was the right thing to do. Those decisions aren't at all mine to make. And then everything you've seen this season, I don't think Manchester United have progressed at all. At the end of what I thought was a very good summer transfer window for them when they addressed so many of the issues. And so that points to none other than Erik ten Hag as a manager, as maybe he is well, you can't change the entire squad, but he certainly is the one I think that has this team underperforming. And I'm concerned that the team and individuals have kind of lost faith in Erik ten Hag. And you see that in the performances. You saw that in Ten Hag's own criticism of the players after their game against 20. For Spurs, it's slightly different with Postecoglou, in that I still think that this is a work in progress. Postecoglou is trying to establish something of a culture about who Spurs are, and in particular, the way that they play. You saw that with them against Karabakh, even though going down to 10 men after, 10 minutes, somewhere thereabouts. They did not change their style. They did not change what they were doing. And while, yes, that may have harnessed some pain during the course of the season, I think Postecoglou is thinking of this a little bit more long-term. And I think the players are buying into it. Also against Karabakh, you saw Solanke with an assist. You saw Johnson with a goal, and kind of given with the criticisms around those two over the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's good to see them continuing with their own contributions. So for me, Spurs are trending slightly upward, while Manchester United are trending slightly downward. So I'm leaning Spurs, even though this game is at Old Trafford.
Okay, change your mind on Saturday and change it again on Sunday, and one of them is probably going to be right, because you've done that before and it worked. LME on Wednesday, we spoke about Man United's worries and woes and ineptitude in front of goal. So without revisiting that, it's still available on YouTube if you want to see that. There are 5 games, 5 goals scored, 5 goals against. However, Højlund's now back from injury, but as yet he has not shared the pitch alongside Joshua Zirkzee because he's replaced him twice. Erik ten Hag, we've seen, kind of prefers that one striker with 3 in behind. Is there a way that he might play both Zirkzee and Højlund in attack and go potentially a 4-4-2 or a 3-5-2 against Spurs on Sunday?
I mean, I think it's a good question because at this point, you know, as we alluded to, as you mentioned a few days ago, and Shaka talked about Manchester United, Erik ten Hag needs to really now come out with anything that he can out of his strategy book now, because things are not working, right? They created 15 chances against Crystal Palace, scored 0, right? Marcus Rashford, 13 goals in 60 appearances. You know, even though he likes to play against Tottenham, he scores a few goals against them. They're clearly lacking, right? So you need to now experiment and do something. If Højlund is indeed ready to go, why not? Because also the Joshua Zirkzee situation is very talented player, but he's not this lethal goal scorer that everybody thinks, or some people think. He only scored 14 goals in Serie A in the last 2 seasons, so he clearly needs help. So there is, you know, an argument to be made that maybe we need more metal up front against the Tottenham side, by the way, who have won the last 3 matches against Manchester United. Here's the thing about this game. This is a participation trophy game because Manchester United and Tottenham need to be realistic about who they are. All right, the chances and the objectivity and the realities of them trying to get Champions League football is so far away. Europe maybe is a possibility, but at this point, at 11th and 10th place, this is a game where really, actually, if there is a bad loss from either way, specifically more Ten Hag, because I agree with Shaka Hislop, I think Erik ten Hag really is walking on thin ice once again. But let's say United lose this, and they lose this pretty badly, and they don't even have to lose it badly, to be honest, then the murmurs of the impatience will continue to grow and they will get very, very big. Because right now, you have to understand that you got the Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Chelsea's looking good at the Maresca, Newcastle United's still up there. Brighton, Forest, and Fulham are above both of these teams. Because this is a very important game. This is a very important game because it's trying to show who they're going to be in the rest of the season. I agree with Shaka about Tottenham and Postecoglou and the system, but there's a few things going on with Tottenham since Postecoglou has arrived that have really not changed. Since November 2023, they've won 3 matches away from home. That's terrible. Terrible if you want to climb up that table. And also, they don't control games at the beginning. After Man City, they've claimed the most points in losing positions, which is a good thing. But Tottenham, it takes them a while to get going in the game. And this is a problem if you want to be an elite club in the Premier League. So this is a very big game, and it's going to tell us a lot about what's going to happen. If Manchester United loses 2-0 or something like that, oh my God. I mean, listen, like United fans maybe have said, look, enough is enough. And if Postecoglou loses 2-0, it's not as bad. But again, the trend continues. You need to win away from home if you want to be something.
I can hear the keyboards tapping. Just to clarify something you said, Spurs haven't won their last 3. They're unbeaten in their last 3 against Man United.
Unbeaten in the last 3, yes, correct.
Which is fine, which leads me on to the next one for Shaq. Having played at Old Trafford, has the fear factor gone for opposition teams going to Old Trafford to face Man United, Shaq?
Yeah, long gone. I mean, that came some time ago. I don't think teams are that worried about going to Old Trafford anymore, but especially this version of Manchester United. That's not a factor.
Were you scared when you went there? Because you had some real good Man United players. What was it that scared you? Was it everything? Was it a combination of the team that you were facing were that good, which Man United aren't at that level just now, and as a result, the fans kind of went there thinking, how many are we going to win today?
Yeah, listen, Manchester United could beat you any which way, or certainly the version of Manchester United I played against, whether it was physical and you're talking about the Yap Stabs and the Roy Keanes and everything that came with that, or just pure pace with Ryan Giggs and that type of player, or just pure quality in terms of what they were able to put in their forward line, whether it's Ruud van Nistelrooy or the York Cole partnership. how do you counter that? What kind of game plan do you come up with that? And they made it look easy, and they knew they were good. They knew they were better than the opponent, and it told. And so it was always a kind of a fearsome place to go, because you knew that team could run up the score quite easily if they got things right. You were just hoping that you'd get them on an off day and you had your best day.
A couple of quick questions from viewers. Thank you for your messages. We always check them. We just chuck away the things that are naughty and bad language and everything like that. So keep them away. But the good questions, we'll give you a chance to ask to the guys. One of them, who lasts longer, Postecoglou or Ten Hag? LME?
Postecoglou, because of what Shaka said earlier. I think, yes, there is an emergency and an urgency for Tottenham to keep going, but they are in the Europa League. You know, that there is signs of what they want to be under Postecoglou, and I think that there is a little bit of a more patient stance with the Australian Greek manager. Ten Hag, we've been here before. Like Shaka said it, like he thought he was gone in the summer. Like, and again, like, you know, against FC20, they drew at Old Trafford. Like, that's, you know, Shaka keeps talking about, like, you know, when he played them nights, and totally agree with him. Like, United were a different animal. Now, not so much. And part of it, yes, is what's happening behind the scenes. But Erik ten Hag really needs to get things going. I think Postecoglou stays longer just because of the objectives for both. But it's a very important game and a very important season for sure.
And another question, Shaq, who's more likely to get Champions League football, if any of them? It's 10th against 11th right now, Man United or Spurs?
I don't see either of the two getting Champions League football. Okay. Quite simply. Yeah.
Perfect. We will move on to the Bundesliga. Good one. On Saturday, it's Bayern Munich against Bayer Leverkusen. I'm going to start with something I'd totally forgotten about, and it's probably on me. But if you said to someone who finished second to Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga last year, Shaq, I would imagine, because I thought, oh, Bayern Munich, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was Stuttgart.
Nope.
Yep,
correct.
Exactly, by one more point. 17 points Leverkusen won the title from Stuttgart, with Bayern back in third on 72 points. They meet this weekend on Saturday. Now, Shaq, going back, I watched the highlights from the game at the Allianz Arena, and it was the very late penalty in the 4th minute stoppage time from Palacios that earned Bayer Leverkusen a draw. They scored so many, didn't they? So late last season.
Mm-hmm.
But who's going into this one as favourites? Because Bayern have won 4 out of 4 in the Bundesliga to begin with, and Leverkusen had that defeat at home to RB Leipzig on the last day of August. Who's your favourites for this?
Bayern Munich. If you'd asked me this before a ball was kicked, or maybe after the first game of the season, I would have said Leverkusen. Especially, I think it was Bayern's first game where they came from. Was it 2 down against might have been Wolfsburg? And I'll be honest, I was not at all convinced about the Vincent Kompany appointment. I had huge concerns, and if I may say so myself, I thought it was well warranted to have those huge concerns, given everything that had been happening at Bayern Munich for the last 2 seasons, going back to the season where, albeit they were crowned champions, simply because Borussia Dortmund decided to throw it away at the very last day of the season. But the upheaval at the boardroom level with Kahn and Salihamidzic, and then you have this incredibly talented German coach in Thomas Tuchel, trying to kind of navigate the waters, the politically choppy waters of Bayern Munich, and not doing a very good job. And you bring Vincent Kompany, who by Thomas Tuchel measure, desperately inexperienced, not knowing what managing a club of anywhere near that size, anywhere near half Bayern Munich size, takes, and you throw him in at the deep end at that, and I thought it was a hiding to nothing for Vincent Kompany. But despite that, as I say, that first game scare, they came through it, and they've just continued to look better and better somehow. Had they lost that opening game, maybe we're having a different discussion. But they got the win, and they've just started to cruise right now. Leverkusen haven't been able to consistently rely on that last minute magic. We saw it already at times this season, but at times they've thrown away leads themselves. And so as a result, especially with this being in Munich, I think Bayern Munich are by far the favourites of the two.
LME, what's better right now, Bayern's best or Leverkusen's best?
Oof, what a good question, because obviously we know what Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen can do on any given day, but I got to go with Shaka here. Bayern Munich have been tremendous. 29 goals scored already. That's the best they've ever done in the Bundesliga. Yeah. And their goal differential and what they've done as a start as well with their 4 wins also means that it's the best they've done since 2016, 2017. When Bayern Munich did that as well. I agree with Shaka. When Vincent Kompany was hired, I thought it was a joke, to be honest. No disrespect to Kompany, but he was coming from Burnley, right? And now taking over the role of one of the most prestigious clubs in Europe. But he has guided them to be an absolute offensive Godzilla. The great thing about Leverkusen when they're at their best is that they're a game of chess, and they're very controlled, and they can hit you whenever they want to with Florian Wirtz, who's just absolutely wonderful, and the other talented players. But this Bayern Munich side right now is going full out, and they're very, very confident of anybody. And by the way, I think that another key component here as well is just the fact that it's not just about Harry Kane, who continues to be lethal, right? Already becoming the greatest English scorer in Bundesliga history, but Michael Olise has really transformed himself well in his new season in the Bundesliga with Bayern as well. So this is a really confident, all-out, you score 2, we'll score 5 kind of Bayern Munich side, and it's going to be really intriguing to see. But this is it's not a defining match because just it's so early in the season, but it's going to tell us a lot about, what is it that both these teams can do at these very high levels. I'm very excited for this one. It's going to be a tremendous match.
One final point on this game, Shaka. 3 goals in 4 starts for one of the best players in world football right now, Jamal Musiala. He's a superstar already. How much better can he get?
Listen, Musiala is an incredible talent, and you've seen that for quite some time. And while maybe it didn't go appreciated or recognized, certainly during last season with Bayern Munich's struggles, I think there are few players in world football who are able to just drift by players as easily as he does. I don't think we can underplay Musiala's talents. And while maybe part of the fact that we haven't been speaking about him, more regularly, again, Bayern Munich struggles, but then the emergence of young talents like Lamine Yamal, or has everybody kind of watering at the mouth as to how good he is. Musiala has got an incredible talent as well that again you cannot underscore.
Speaking of talented footballers, we're going to end with some miscellaneous stats about Shaka Hislop's career. Before we do that, I've got them intrigued now. I want to get some predictions from the gents. We're going to start in La Liga with the Madrid Derby. LME, what do you like on Sunday?
Oh, man, this is a tough one because obviously recent history shows that Atleti is going to win this, but I'm still not, proven as how they're doing this season. I'm going to call it a boring draw here. I think it's going to be 1-0. Okay.
Shaka?
2-1 Real Madrid.
Okay. What about Man United Spurs, LME?
Well, again, I think that Spurs' good history with Manchester United continues here. I think Spurs win this one 2-1.
Okay, Shaq?
Agreed. 2-1 Tottenham Hotspur.
And we'll stick with you, Shaq, for Bayern Munich against Leverkusen on Saturday.
Well, let's just make it a trifecta. 2-1 Bayern Munich.
LME?
I think this is a high-scoring draw, and it could be nuts. I think it's going to be like 3-0.
Okay. We will end with a little quiz question to Shaka. Someone watching has been on the Google and been looking up your career, and they found an assist, a Premier League assist by Shaka Hislop. You were credited with it. So I thought, right, is it true? It is. 95-96 for Newcastle. But who was that against?
Villa.
What happened?
So Villa sitting at that time like to play a very high line. So I kind of, I have a measured, distance. Les Ferdinand was my target. That you just kind of hang the ball up for Les to attack. But as Les just kind of, as the game went on, he just kind of dropped a little bit closer to the half line each time, and I would just hang it up for Les. And we had a pretty good understanding, and when the Villa back line got high enough up, I just drilled it over the top. I just, took the air off it and just kind of drilled it. And it just went straight over the top. Les was through 1-on-1. I think it was Mark Bosnich was the goalkeeper at the time.
It was, and yes, it was Mark Bosnich.
You remember this?
Of course I remember it. It was the second year I became a lifelong Villa fan. And my God, I was like, Bosnich, no! And Shaka made the assist. I was cursing Shaka's name throughout the whole thing.
You think we're going to end there, don't you? And everyone's happy and smiling, goes off dancing in the meadows. No, that same person, whoever it is, also said you were sent off twice. So I checked it. Yep, West Ham, consecutive seasons. Yeah. What did you do wrong, naughty boy?
So the first one was away to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough had a Colombian striker, black guy. I can't remember his name now.
I know the guy you mean. LME, you should know this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It wasn't
Harrison. I can't remember. A name will come to me. Ball over the top. I come charging up my box and get there, and I'm short. And I should have known because he wasn't having a great season. But in trying to lob me, he levered it straight at my face, and I'm out of the box, and I just reactively just kind of put my hands up to
Hamilton Ricard, wasn't
Hamilton
it?
Ricard.
Hamilton Ricard. There you go.
Yeah.
He levered it straight at my face, and I just instinctively just kind of put my hands up, and if I didn't put my hands up, it would have smacked me straight, and it'd been fine. But of course, the referee was Uriah Rennie. Yep. I remember the black referee from back in those days. From the time I did it, I just turned and started to walk straight. I didn't even look around. I didn't wait for the card. I just walked. I knew it was up.
Shaq, you've got to protect the moneymaker. Come on now.
Well, okay, well. And then the second one.
What was the other one? Yeah.
The second one was West Ham at home to Chelsea. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Guess what? I come sliding out. Jimmy was. Let me tell you, Jimmy was hard work, man. It wasn't a foul. But Jimmy goes over.
If I remember correctly, Jimmy made an Oscar-worthy performance as well to make sure that Shaka Hislop.
Absolutely Oscar-worthy. And in that game, we had 3 players sent off. I can't remember. Ian Wright was the third. So it might have been Steve Lomas got sent off first. Then I got sent off. And then Ian Wright got sent off. And I don't know if you remember the story. Ian Wright then went into the when he got sent off, he went into the referee's dressing room and absolutely thrashed it. He was so angry. He thrashed the dressing room.
Yeah.
But the stewards saw. So the stewards went in and tried to tidy up. But they put like the wrong wallet and the wrong keys in the wrong pockets. So that's how the referees found out. That's how the referees found out something was wrong, and it came out in the referee's report.
See, everybody thinks Wrighty's so nice. I'm telling you, he was a lethal man.
Wouldn't have happened if Shaka had behaved himself. I mean, I've just watched it. That's a cynical foul on Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
That was not even a foul. That was. And let me tell you, Jimmy was naughty too, So Jimmy would go over easily anytime anybody come close to him. But then whenever he got close to you, it would be a little elbow in your... Oh, he was naughty. No, don't get me wrong. Jimmy Floyd is the nicest man you can meet. Jimmy Floyd is the nicest man you can meet. But on the pitch, goodness me, he was hard work.
We'll end it there. Nice little stories. Thank you for getting in touch. If you've got anything about LME's past, feel free to reach out. We can maybe ask him next time, and then we'll see.
Wrap it up, Billy. Wrap it up.
Especially with his teacher wife, who could maybe help us as well. ESPN FC Live twice a week. We'll be back Saturday, Sunday to look back on all the big games at the weekend. Cheers to LME and to Shaka and to you for watching. Bye.